Primal strength. Ain't nobody man enough to feel the pain.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are just closing in on just a few days before Summerslam, the biggest party of the summer, but also Summer Rant, which will definitely be one of the biggest parties of the summer. I am indeed Nate the Effing Great. Welcome to the Game Changer, and I am being joined here finally by one of the final members of the Kings of the Ring podcast. He is the man of 1,000 gimmicks, personas. Honestly, by the time 2018 is over, he's probably going to have more like 2,500 personas. I'm being joined here by the one and only Mr. Dusty Dave. How's it going, good sir?
It's going pretty well, and yeah, my most recent gimmick that came up with for our show this week, the King of Bald style.
Oh my gosh.
Things are going well. Been a little stressed out because I just really moved a new place in Long Island, and I've only had half my furniture, and 3 separate times my deliveries got messed up by the delivery company, but fingers crossed, this delivery date for Monday is set in stone. I'm hoping to God because my back is really messed up after sleeping on a couch for about 3 weeks now.
Usually, damn you, IKEA.
I even went to IKEA, once you make the purchase and, it goes to the delivery people, it's not even, them anymore. So they couldn't do anything. But the delivery company said they're going to reimburse my delivery fee, which I believe is close to $200. And I'm getting a $100 gift card. I'm not sure if that's for IKEA or just kind of one of those Visa ones, but
dude, anytime that you get a refund, it's awesome.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I mean, luckily I have this very busy weekend ahead of me. I have Joey Janela's Lost in New York tomorrow. I'm going to be meeting up with the Rant father, Anthony DeStefano, to see most likely Matt Riddle's last indie date. And then on Saturday, we got the Who Got Next hangout hosted by Philium and Nick Giacobbe, that Giacobbe money. And then, of course, we have honored that and asked the Kings of the Rings podcast, myself, Willie T, and King Ricky Rose to do the pre-show. I even remember back to when he first got in touch with us about if we wanted to become a part of Wrestle Addict Radio. Now, when me and Will when I started recording with Will, when he asked me to, we had no expectations, but me and Will, the first time we met, it was at a fraternity rush event, and for 4 hours we were drinking and talking wrestling. And then, of course, we brought in King Ricky. Me and Ricky go way back, and he's basically what helped us start getting a bigger following. And for Ant, who all three of us have listened to before we ever met him, to become part of Wrestle Addict, and then to do the pre-show for Summer Rant, it's a huge honor. That's why whenever I can, I try to get the Patreon merchandise, the Represent merchandise. Ant, I love you. Phil, love you. G-Rod, I saw your post earlier today. I love being with you guys in Wildwood. I went down to South Jersey for the Carmella and Good Brothers meet and greet, and I got to meet a bunch of the guys. And then a couple of us went to the live event at the Wildwood Convention Center. So, and I actually got a chance to see Ant's recording studio. He wasn't kidding when he says he has wall top to bottom of signed figures. If you ever get a chance to see it, man, it's a sight to behold.
Man, I can only imagine it's just it's probably more organized than Grim from Grimm's Toy Show, because I remember he's one of the few guys that I've known that's just a huge toy collector, and now that I know Ant also collects the figures as well, it's got to be. I want there to be a competition between the two of them, Grim versus Ant. Make this a thing. I want to see who has more figures.
Yeah, like I mean, I like when we first got to Ant's house before we went out then to the show. He's like, "Do you guys want to see the studio?" And I kind of like became a little fanboy. I'm like, "Wait, we get to see where the magic happens?" Like, and I mean, when he says like Owen Hart's his favorite of all time, he has an Owen Hart autographed picture framed like it's stunning, and he wasn't kidding when he said he does have the Nikki Bella section. But like, I was never big into collecting figures. I mean, lately I've been getting into the pops, but one of my other gimmicks is the belt collector. So I'm kind of just waiting in this holding pattern until they release the North American Championship.
Man, that's going to be one of those championships that is probably going to get real popular real fast. But I have been meaning to ask you this because I actually am a bit of a belt collector myself. As I'm saying that, I'm looking at my nice cabinet that I have over here with just classic belts, modern day belts, and I got to ask you the question: how many belts do you have exactly?
Okay, so I have 5 right now. I have the WWE Championship, AJ Styles' belt. I have the Winged Eagle. I have the Intercontinental. I have the Ring of Honor World Championship. And I have the John Cena Spinner Belt.
Man, I used to have the spinner belt, but then I think there was a time where I just thought, you know what, I just need to get rid of this thing because it's just not for me.
When it wasn't the one that I wanted. I actually wanted the Attitude Era World Championship or the Undisputed. But then, like, you know, when you're at the venue, because they actually got it a Royal Rumble weekend, you're at the venue, you see these belts, you get that nostalgia factor. And, I mean, I've always been a big John Cena fan, like, you know, Dr. Thugonomics. Like, I still remember his debut match against Kurt Angle. And I kind of just wanted it. And when I met Nikki Bella at one of the MSU Live events, she actually was like, that belt looks familiar, and she just kept spinning it, and I'm just like, what? but yeah, no, it's definitely my least favorite because, like, don't get me wrong, these belts are heavy in and of themselves. That thing is like an extra 4 pounds than every other belt. So, like, literally, whenever I have it, the next day I'm sore and wear whatever part of my body I'm wearing it.
Yeah, it's one of those belts where, you know, it's cool when people look at it. I remember in high school bringing it over. It's for, like, dress-up days for, like, homecoming and stuff like that, and I always had this one guy be like, I challenge you for your title, I challenge you for your title. And then, like, the moment finally came, I think it was, like, prom in, like, my junior year, where we had, like, a sumo thing going on, and I was completely undefeated, and then when I told him, dude, let's go, let's battle for the belt, because I knew we couldn't do, like, backyard wrestling or stuff like that at the high school, but I just figured, you know what, maybe we could at least do, like, a sumo deal, and he ended up not doing it, so I was like, so I was like, hey, I won via forfeit, I retained my championships, what now?
And, like, a while back, do you remember when The Rock had his short run with the title when he won it from CM Punk, and he had, like, the WWE, like, it's similar to the one now, but it had champ instead of champion? Well, I had that one, and then me and my brother, we got together, and him and his roommate, we did a unification bout in Mortal Kombat X, and I lost it. So I actually had to give away my belt, but that was my least favorite. It was too, like, gaudy. But yeah, so my brother unified the big gold belt, the WWE Champ belt, and the Attitude Era World Championship. So he had literally 3 championships for winning, like, a nice Mortal Kombat tournament. but he's a button masher, so I don't really count that against my losses.
Fair enough. Also, I just want to do a cheap plug. A lot of the belts that I got were from ajsbelts.com. Be sure to check it out, you guys. Honestly, one of the reasons why I'm able to get so many of these championship belts is because of their great layaway program. They work with you guys. It is absolutely amazing. So, ajsbelts.com, thank you so much, and be sure to check them out. So, There has been quite a bit that's been going on this week in pro wrestling, and one of the things that a lot of people have been talking about, especially Ant, oh my gosh, if you've been in the chat, you definitely know Ant has been talking about this, the allegations that were brought against Randy Orton for a bit of like a sexual harassment deal.
Sexual misconduct. Yeah, I read them. I mean, like, first and foremost, if anyone would do it, like, mind you, back in the day, a lot of stuff was kind of like not accepted, but just the way things were. It would be Randy Orton. But so if I got it right, whenever new writers would come into the company, he would ask them to shake his hand, but he would have his penis in his hand. And then when they would say no, he would rebuttal like, "Oh, you don't want to shake my hand? Maybe I should talk to Stephanie and Triple H." Like, I mean, mind you, this is the same person who allegedly, but I'm pretty sure it's all but confirmed now, took a dump in a female superstar's bed. So, I especially in the current momentum with the women's division and, equality, it's a really bad, kind of like a black eye for the WWE, especially, he just returned, came back as a heel. Everybody wanted him to come back as a heel. And we've seen others in different positions get fired for stuff like this. Obviously, Randall Keith Orton won't get fired. But it's not a good look.
It really is not. It's one of those things where it makes people just hate Randy Orton more and more, and not for the right reasons, because everybody wants to have heat against him because of his persona, but they're getting heat against him because he's just being a stupid idiot. And, whether it's the dumping the bag, the weird stuff that he does with the women, which definitely he has improved on. I think that now, since women are getting more attention, he's realizing, okay, maybe I should actually transition to something like this. Oh, nobody cares about the writers. Why don't I just fuck with them? And just this whole deal where he just puts his hand, whips out his dick, and basically is shaking their hands. And actually, there was one story that one of the writers said where he basically was going to do that, and the guy got lucky because Stephanie was just walking in, and he's just like, oh shit. He just puts it right back in his pants. I'm like, wow, the fact that it's literally like a teacher-student deal where he just literally is like, oh, I should not be doing that. That's, oh man. I am slowly becoming more of like a Randy Orton hater, and it's one of those things where it's like, hey, for all the hate that Roman Reigns gets, at least we haven't heard backstage stories of him doing stupid stuff like this.
Oh, but I haven't heard any story of that nature with Roman Reigns. Like, the things he's one of the biggest active people with the Make-A-Wish Foundation. He kind of took John Cena's role, but even though we know John Cena still does that behind the scenes. And there was even a video a couple weeks ago. He was at a live event, shaking people's hands, and he came across someone that had that was mentally challenged. They were suffering from a mental debilitation, and the kid kind of got very starstruck, and he gave the kid a shield fist bump, and I have to think that kid's day was made, and I can't even imagine the difficulties that presents. But, to go to an event like that and to have a superstar acknowledge you and not look at you differently because of an illness or debilitation, but treat you like a human, like a person, I love Roman Reigns, and I was lucky enough to get a chance to meet him. And honestly, he's one of the nicest guys. I got a picture with him doing the fist load up, and he's awesome to meet in person. And obviously, he's not being well received by the WWE Universe, but Ant made a really good point on your show, on the show you guys recorded. Nobody's criticizing him for bad wrestling. He's a phenomenal performer. They're not receptive to him being the top guy. And unfortunately, we're still in that belief, like Vince McMahon always in the bigger game. Always like someone of Finn Balor's size, it's still harder for them to be seen as a heavyweight. And I think that's one thing that's holding Finn back, which I hate. But on the other side of it, him and AJ have very similar body builds. And AJ is the champion on SmackDown. So I really believe Finn would do better on SmackDown.
Well, then we would just get AJ Styles and Finn Balor again, which would be, I mean, just a heart attack.
I won't complain.
No, I wouldn't either. I mean, I'll be in a hospital bed trying to, just get my heart starting again, even before the bell rings, because, let's face it, last year those guys locked horns, and that was absolutely amazing. So.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like, I remember going into that, watching that TLC event, and then there was a rumor that, superstars were sick. And then you had the last minute Styles match. I actually got one of the memorabilia plaques with a piece of the ring, and both of them signed it at WrestleMania's Access this year. It's 1 of 5. And, like, that match was amazing. AJ just doesn't have bad matches. Finn could be in that same boat if they gave him a chance, but he's been your favorite happy hour waiter at Apple.
Well, yeah. And, what are your thoughts on the rumors that they might actually bring back the demon gimmick this Sunday at SummerSlam?
Oh, I'm keeping my fingers crossed. Like, I'm a huge Finn Balor fan, even going back to when he was in New Japan as Prince Devitt. Like, I remember marking the fuck out when he made his NXT debut. And, like, so, and seeing so much of him on New Japan, he always did, like, the special events, and even in, he always did big events in, the face paint. Like, he did a zombie, he did, like, you name it, he's done it. Now, the one strike against a demon is the fact that it's kind of like when you see it, he has to win. With the beauty's in, it would make sense. Like, he's kind of been screwed over and over. I could see it, but my question is, if we see it, are we going to get it, like, for the regular big matches, like with him not fighting for a prize? Or is this going to lead to maybe a slow heel turn and then he becomes a prize fighter? Like, don't get winning the IC belt at Mania. However, I really think Balor would have been a better choice. But that's just me. But if I get to see the Demon, there will be a video similar to how Ant talked about his Royal Rumble video with Nikki Bella. There will be a similar video of me marking the fuck out. Like, I wanted to see the Demon so much. I played my 2K18 into Infirmary just so I can see it. But my question is, would this be a good time? Because this is like, match 1 of the feud. So, and there's no real gain from him winning. I'm getting at?
Yeah, there really isn't that much of a gain for that because he is fighting, the guy from TGI Fridays. But, I mean, honestly, I'm really loving what they're doing with Baron Corbin. Yes, he's dressed up like a TGI Friday waiter. Yes, he's the constable. Yes, he's just this guy that's, basically sucking up for Stephanie McMahon. But it's somehow one of his better gimmicks. And somehow this
I do agree with you.
This vest that he's had is giving him this supernatural ability to just move faster in the ring, do better at, taking bumps. And I mean, even with other guys, like his match with Tyler Breeze this past week was actually pretty good. And I'm just looking forward to seeing...
Tyler Breeze is one of the most underrated on Raw. He really is. Mind you, a while ago, this is the same guy who fought Jushin fucking Thunder Light.
Yeah, and I think there's some people that don't give him that much credit for that.
Yeah, and with Baron Corbin, like, I'm on board with the gimmick. I'm just not on board with this feud because, first and foremost, I talked about it on the Kings of the Ring podcast. It reminds me a lot of a little bit of what Big Cass and Daniel Bryan had. Bigger guy, you know, making fun of the smaller guy. When I thought it would have made more sense to have another Angle match, Angle versus Baron Corbin, and then Angle could put Corbin over. Like, that would have made more sense because obviously we see the tension between the two, and I can hear I'm appointed constable by Stephanie McMahon. Like, it needs to lead to something, and the longer it goes unanswered, they're missing the boat on a huge opportunity. Because Kurt Angle putting over Corbin, that could elevate him right back into that main event picture that he was in before he opened his mouth about concussion doctor when he was Money in the Bank.
Yeah, that was one of those things where I'm like, well, hey, Baron Corbin's Mr. Money in the Bank, and then I see him lose to Jinder frickin' Mahal, and I'm like, what is going on here? First of all,
and it's gone.
First of all, it's one of those things where, great, I hate you, John Cena, and then I hear all these stories, I'm like, oh, crap. Baron, what are you doing, dude? Corbin, just, dude, man.
And I mean, mind you, that was like right in the middle. Like, they still had the huge concussion lawsuit with like the 52 like former and current workers. Daniel Bryan hadn't been medically cleared yet, and concussions now are like a very important topic in sports across the board. And their head doctor, I'm sorry, you just don't do that. That was like the stupidest thing he could have ever done. But he's making his way back, and I could see him get involved in the title picture, moving towards the next big four. So that would be Survivor Series. But like, I feel that it can't happen until he gets the rub from Kurt Angle. So
you know, that could be the case, but maybe he also just needs a big victory over somebody on the main roster, like maybe a Seth Rollins, maybe a Roman Reigns. It doesn't necessarily have to be Kurt Angle, but I do see where you're coming from when you're talking about, you know, having, you know, beating a legend in the likes of Kurt Angle. Honestly, geez Louise, that would actually be one of the best career highlights for Baron Corbin, is to defeat Kurt Angle.
Yeah, and then rather than always bring, like, he'd have I was appointed by Stephanie, and I beat you at SummerSlam. So then he would have a claim, maybe you're unfit to run Raw, because let's be serious, Kurt Angle kind of is unfit to run Raw. And so there are so many ways you could do it, but I don't see them achieving anything with this Finn Balor thing. And that, like, it's a combination of the feud just doesn't have much to it, and they're, like, nobody win, like, the 50-50 booking, like, they're still on equal ground. So basically, they've just been taking time up when we could showcase other women other than the women in the title feud or the Boston Hug Connection. Terrible name, by the way. Or we could have people like Tyler Breeze. And now we have another person who's occupying with the return of the lunatic, who by the way, Triple H. Finn Balor and Corbin both deserve better.
Yeah, I definitely do agree with that. Well, you also hit another thing that happened on Raw, which was absolutely amazing, and that was indeed the return of the lunatic fringe, Dean Ambrose. And by God, it was one of those moments where it's like, hey, he's coming back, he's out. Oh my gosh, Dean Ambrose is back, and he cut his hair, and he looks like he just is jacked beyond belief. Holy cow.
Like, I mean, obviously, like, when we've seen superstars have long injury breaks, like Finn Balor, Seth Rollins, and now Dean Ambrose, they come back like a new fucking person. And I mean, just Ambrose's face when he came like that grimace, like it first off nostalgic that he came back. Second of all, I'm curious on what role he's gonna play in Sunday's match. Like, everybody's saying he's the person who comes to it. He's going to help Seth Rollins win the belt. Yes, that would be easy booking. But let's go back to when he was injured. Rollins and Ambrose were tag team champions. After the injury, Seth and Jason Jordan had their run. Ambrose just faded. Just nothing happened to him. I would like more, rather than him turn heel after Rollins wins the belt, I would like to see him cost Rollins the belt. And then you could have you'd have the IC title feud, including the whole group, but the feud within a feud of Rollins and Ambrose.
That would be very interesting. Well, I kind of was mentioning this way, and I had my talk with Taylor this morning, was that I really think that they could just delay that just a little bit. You can still have Dean Ambrose have this new persona where he does have that serious face. He's more serious. He's not, taking things lightly. Maybe we get like a really good feud between him and Drew McIntyre. I would honestly love to see that now that I say that.
Oh my, especially the way Rollins introduced him. You have a Scottish psychopath. Well, I've got a lunatic. Like, I would absolutely love that. But I mean, also I'm a little biased because Dolph Ziggler is on my fantasy team, and I was literally winning the whole season. I'm now like 100 points back, and I have so many people involved in matches. So, biased Dave would like to see Ziggler retain for selfish reasons, but regardless, it's going to be a great match. Like, I'm still surprised that they put the belt on Ziggler, but boy, did it help me.
Yeah. You mentioned Fantasy League. What exactly does that all entail?
Okay, so through the website dropthebelt.com, and similar to the way you would do fantasy football, you'll have a draft, and you draft different superstars. Now, you get points for winning matches, losing matches, stipulations, and then miscellany, like attacks, or using a weapons, or through the announce table. And, there's no, bench positions, so, you have a roster of, 10 to 12 people, and you accumulate points. Oh, there are 3 seasons. There's this WrestleMania season, the SummerSlam season, and then the Survivor Series season. They're 3-4 month seasons, and you could specify whether within your group, if you the way my group has it, you need a cruiserweight, you need at least one woman. And a while back, you also needed an authority figure, but there's only so many authority figures to go around. And when Carmella would attack with the belt, you get points for belt attack. When they're on guest commentary, there are points. Interference or looking on, there's a whole rule book. And I've had a good time. I do it with Ricky, some members of the Valkyrie, and some other listeners. I've enjoyed it, and it's actually caused me to watch. A lot of times I'll watch my favorite matches, my favorite superstars matches with a focus malicious intent. But, like, my cruiserweight is Drew Gulak. So, like, just seeing him get to this point, I personally think he can beat Cedric Alexander, especially on the mean streak he's been on ever since he, started using the Gulag, like the Dragon Sleeper. And it's allowing me more fun while I'm watching, like, oh, hey, I got points for that. And I was never really good at fantasy football because I would always forget to bench people based on the bye weeks. So, like, I've enjoyed it. But what screwed me is the past couple weeks, AJ has only been doing, like, commentary, and he's been absent a couple weeks. So those absences, it's not taking points away from me, but it's taking away an opportunity to get points that other people are getting.
Yeah, I can understand that. But it also sounds like a really fun system. That's actually pretty awesome.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's dropthebelt.com. Check it out. It's free. And yeah, I absolutely enjoy it. Like, we've done it. This is our third season. And it ends on Sunday. So, like, I have Sunday to make up these points. I'm currently losing to Valkyrie. And yeah, but I can say, and they know it, I love you, Valkyrie, but I was winning the whole season. So I'm the MVP, but that's neither here nor there.
MVP Dave is a little bit triggered. But yeah, you do mention the Valkyrie. I know that I'm going to have Nikki Skywalker on tomorrow's show to go through predictions for NXT TakeOver Brooklyn 4 as well as SummerSlam. So you mentioned a couple of high, predictions like Dean Ambrose turning on Seth Rollins possibly, Drew Gulak possibly winning. Honestly, it's still one of those things where I'm frustrated at the fact that still the Cruiserweight division is being sidebenched to the pre-show every single time.
I am as well, and I remember a little while ago, give Cruiserweights a chance. I don't hear that anymore. Like, 205 Live is, ever since Drake Maverick storyline took over the reins, but, behind the camera, Triple H, 205 Live has become must-see TV. Mm-hmm. Like, the matches that are being put on by Mustafa Ali, by Buddy Murphy, and then you have Cedric as your champ, you're finally getting these characters fleshed out, rather than just being acrobatic superstars. And I mentioned that I'm a huge New Japan fan, like Will Ospreay, Hiromu Takahashi, who broke his neck at Dominion. Like, they have these fleshed out characters. You're only starting to see that now. Like, we know he's going to have a run with that belt sooner than later. I got a chance to meet him at Access. One of the nicest guys. Like, I've been saying that Cruiserweight should be elevated from the pre-show ever since Neville versus Austin Aries at WrestleMania 33.
Yeah, because that was one of the highlights of that entire event, even.
And I mean, don't get me wrong, I was almost dying from heat stroke during the event. But, that match, and then to start the main card, you have Shane versus AJ. I loved it. And of course, we know, because the Cruiserweight match was on the pre-show, it wasn't included in the DVD. So the Cruiserweights didn't get royalties from those sales. Was one of the things that led to Aries leaving the company.
Yeah, but he's doing better. I mean, he's the Impact World Champion now. So
if there's one person who has a legit claim to the belt collector gimmick, his name is Austin Aries. Between what he's doing in Impact, and I actually ordered Impact Slammiversary. The match he put on with Moose, very impressive. He's champion across the board. WWE missed a huge opportunity. I'm still amazed that people in other companies world champions make it to WWE and they're only seen as cruiserweights because of their stature.
Yeah, I think that's probably what could happen with Gargano and Ciampa if they get called up to the main roster. Is that, hey, they were great on NXT. I mean, they're holding the NXT Championship, but ultimately they're just going to end up being cruiserweights for 205 Live. And it's like, no. Some people want to see Gargano compete for the U.S. title or for the IC title. They want to see Ciampa, just be an absolute badass on this scene.
And I mean, when you think about it, Ricochet would be in the same boat. Some people would even put Adam Cole in the same boat. Adam fucking Cole. 3-time Ring of Honor champion. Like, I love seeing these smaller wrestlers put on the matches they do. In New Japan, the Junior Heavyweight Championship is a prestigious championship. They have their own tournament, Best of the Super Juniors, puts on some of the best match of the year candidates. I hate how it doesn't transfer to WWE. Like, that being in the cruiserweight division is looked at as, a glass ceiling in and of itself. The X division used to be that in Impact Wrestling. And now, Brian Cage, the machine. Brian Cage is not a small guy. He's a heavyweight. Samoa Joe was an X Division champion. So, I look at it as a stepping stone in and of itself. And I mean, Kenny Omega, the IGP, started out in the juniors division. And now he has the most prestigious belt in all of wrestling. I would like a replica of that belt.
Yeah, I think that it's one of those belts where you have to get on a custom-made wrestling belt deal. But
I 100% agree, and I believe it's close to $1,000. So if I ever get a bonus anytime soon, that's what it's going to.
Oh, trust me, if I had that kind of a bonus, I would be joining you with that because that belt is just too sweet, and it is just beautiful. And like you said, it's the most prestigious. Just give us extra money work. We want to spend it on something crazy. Wrestling is weird, but we don't care.
Yeah. But you brought up other things I'm looking forward to at SummerSlam. I'm really looking forward to Samoa Joe AJ. And on one hand, for the little bit I did watch Impact, it was for guys like AJ Styles, Samoa Joe. And I never thought I would get them in a WWE ring. Now, 2016, I still remember so vividly number 3 coming up, hearing the opening to a song, and just seeing the P1, and seeing AJ Styles. And now he's on his second run at WWE Champion. The company's champion, because I'm sorry, I'm not ready to accept a fruity roll of belt yet. Mm-hmm. And he's on the cover of 2K19. I never thought I would get this, so this is icing on the cake. And now we have Samoa Joe, who is evolving into, I would say, the second, tied for the first, maybe second best talker, only under the Miz. At one of the big 4. I never thought I'd get this. And Samoa Joe made it personal, the note from AJ's daughter, bringing the family into it. If anyone could take the belt from AJ right now, it would be Joe. Do I think it's going to happen? No. But as long as it's not an ending like Shinsuke AJ from any of their matches, I'll be happy.
Yeah, I'm hoping for the same thing too. I think I actually went on record to state that I'm hoping that what they do with AJ and Joe is have Joe be just completely dominant. Just have him just wreck AJ throughout the matchup. And honestly, then you would have AJ maybe pull up a surprise victory out of nowhere. That way you're still keeping Samoa Joe strong, but you're also keeping the belt on AJ. Because I think they might be trying to possibly I'm trying to think. I think they might try to have AJ beat CM Punk's record. I'm not quite 100% sure.
I could see it, especially considering the fact that obviously we know Brock Lesnar has broken it with the Universal, but
The whole 10 title defenses, fuck that.
I remember they had that graphic of the two reigns side by side. Lesnar's defended the belt like not even like a quarter of the same amount of time. But what was I gonna say? And also we brought it up in the Kings of the Rings podcast. Also in this match, if there ever was a time we would see the Muscle Buster again, it would be in this match because AJ has taken it so many times. But obviously, we know it kind of went the way of the dodo because it ended Natalia's husband's career. But I could feasibly believe that we could see it. Would I be scared? Yes, but in the same respect, AJ Styles Clash was almost banned. Chris Jericho helped get it unbanned. So, who knows? I just want to see this feud continue. I really do. Especially with the next pay-per-view being Hell in a Cell. The possibilities are endless.
Yeah, definitely do agree with that. And I think that they have basically made that the intention is that they are going to continue it through onto Hell in a Cell in September. Yeah, September. So, we're getting the rematch between the two of them. Which, you know what, they spoiled it, but I don't care.
and I mean, like, the fact that AJ is the cover of 2K19, I think I could see it more feasible for him to lose it after the release than now, but, like, who knows?
Yeah, marketing is just weird like that, and it's also wrestling. Like I said, wrestling is weird.
WWE logic.
Ever since I had the interview with Ant, I just keep saying that phrase of wrestling is weird, and I'm hoping I can just trademark that throughout the show, because that's just something that just sticks out perfectly. I mean, for a long time it was, for a while it was just the phrase "boy howdy," and that was when I had one of my interviews with SoCal Val. She just said, "You gotta make that into a catchphrase." I'm like, I might have to do that, but now I might also have to trademark the catchphrase "wrestling is weird," even though everybody else probably says that as much as I do.
I still, like, I've been, obviously, I'm one of Val's Patreons, like, I've interacted with her, like, I want to meet her in person so much, like, I've loved her since she worked with TNA and was an announcer, and, like, and now she's, you know, back in the game, you know, with, World of Sport, like, I just love SoCal Val, like, the governess of California, I love you so much.
She is an absolute sweetheart when she wants to be. There's a lot of other times, and it's also been on record, that she can definitely be one of those people who can be very competitive and can definitely break you down as much as you try to build yourself up. I mean, I remember when she called me by the name Nathan Luis, and I'm like, that's not even my middle name, but yet I still feel like I'm been put in my place somehow.
Yeah. And then the other big thing I'm looking forward to is the coronation of the baddest woman in the planet as champion. Like, that was actually one of my favorite segments from yours and Ant's interview. Like, she was one of the reasons why I, like, became a huge MMA fan. Yeah, I would watch the fight here and there, like, but anytime Rousey was on a card, the whole card was must see. And being at the Rumble, like, Asuka wins. You have the two chants in the ring, and then you hear the song, and you see Rousey come out, like, and then being able to be in attendance for her debut WWE match with Kurt Angle against Trips and Steph, and then for her MSG debut, like, and I her when she was shaking hands with the crowd. Like, I'm stunned that she took to wrestling as well as Ziggler, like these amateur wrestlers or, you know, MMA fighters. Like, she's a once-in-a-lifetime athlete. And seeing her shot to the moon like this, I like it. Now, I don't want this to be both women's championships changing hands to, you know, legitimize the divisions heading into Evolution, because there's still time between now and then. So, I want to see Rousey win and Carmella defend, and then Carmella lose to insert name from the Becky Charlotte feud. Especially, like, Carmella's one of the best heels right now. And I like how she's going with the whole, who said being a diva was a bad thing. And yet it has bad connotations, but she's doing her job as a heel, getting you to dislike her. So I would like to see her defend, maybe, you know, steal a win, throwing one of the other two out of the ring after they hit a finisher. Or I would even like to see the Iconics get involved, because the Iconics and Mella, they look, any picture I see of the three of them together, they look like a faction.
They really do, and they actually fit the bill, because all three of them are kind of divas in their own right. And honestly, I'm still hoping that we get some kind of Divas Tag Team title, but I also know that when I had my discussion with Taylor earlier, she did make a really good point that it's hard to do that when you don't have so much depth to your rosters. You have only so many people in the women's division on both brands. Some are established, yes, but there's some that are just not quite there yet. So it's better to give them a little more established first and then get into that.
I do see where you're coming from that, but my rebuttal to that would be, why are they not able to become established? And it's because they don't have the screen time. Like, I mean, right now, the people we see on Monday Night Raw, you have Alexa and insert friend here. Right now it's Alicia Fox, before it was Mickie James. You have Ronda Rousey, Nia Jax, the last women's champion, nowhere to be seen. You have the Riot Squad, and this back and forth with Sasha and Bayley. And you, up until a couple weeks ago, you have Bayley and Sasha feuding. Like, Natalya, you know, has been coming out to support Ronda Rousey, but I haven't seen any ability for anyone outside of them to get featured. On SmackDown, you have Charlotte. You have occasionally Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville. You have Becky, Charlotte. You're only now starting to see Zelina Vega. Naomi's on the roster too. Haven't seen her in ages. Like,
that's true.
The secondary feuds. So outside of the women's championship on each brand, those secondary feuds could be where you feature the women's tag team. Now, my only belief, if you establish a women's tag team championship, it would have to be co-branded.
I agree. I think you could even say tri-branded if you want to, if you throw in NXT.
Tri-branded. And because I mean, right now Evolution's gonna have the final the Mae Young Classic with insert name one here, insert name two here. We don't talk spoilers.
Nope.
You're gonna have SmackDown Women's Championship, Raw Women's Championship, and NXT Women's Championship. They're obviously going to have secondary matches. I honestly think after the smoke is cleared, probably first or second week in September, we're going to start seeing a tournament. Tri-branded bracket with the finals at Evolution. I would love to see it. Like, WWE has been kind of late to the game with the Women's Revolution. Impact's been doing it. I've always been a huge fan of Joshi wrestling, and we got Asuka, we got Kairi, and now we got Io Shirai. Those are just 3 names of some amazing Joshi wrestlers, like Katsumoto. And we're seeing a couple more of them in the Mae Young Classic. And then that's before even getting into the whole European scene. Like, you have names like Killer Kelly. You have Toni Storm, crowd favorite, who was born in 95. Like, she's so young. You have Allison Kay. You have, like, so many names are being featured in the Mae Young Classic and the NXT UK division. Like, we're slowly getting to see them more and more. So, the talent is there for it. It's just a matter of utilizing the secondary women's feud on each of the shows for those titles.
Yeah, and I'm honestly, like I said, I'm just honestly hoping that they finally do something more with this now that they do have the women's event on lock. But we'll find out on October 28th what goes down at WWE Evolution. Very interested in seeing how this card build-up is going to be.
I am too, and I'm also kind like, for example, I said on last week's King show, I got a ticket to the Ring of Honor New Japan Super Show. Like, a historical event, the first non-WWE company to put on a wrestling show in the Garden since WWE started as WWF in 1963. Then you have Evolution, first WWE all-women's pay-per-view. And it's going to be at Nassau Coliseum, my backyard. Like, to have the opportunities, like, me and the boys are going to try and get tickets, like, these historic events, and you're going to be going to All In.
That's right.
And so is Ran With Dan and being on Podcast Row. That's a historic event in and of itself. Like, to have a chance to go to these historic events, like, you can't change it for the world. Like, I'm going to mark out when I, like, see these New Japan wrestlers live for the first time. In their first time at the Garden. Like, the G1 Climax tournament was impossible for me. Like, literally every other day waking up to watch at 5:30 in the morning. But it's that damn good. So, I'm excited for it, and they're going to hit it out of the ballpark. Like, Nassau Coliseum is another arena that's been, big in WWE's history, and, like, it's hard for me to say this because I almost feel like I screwed myself over. They almost can't screw this up. But WWE logic. Like, they have so many opportunities. It was great having the finals for the Mae Young added to it. All the titles on the line. Like, it's going to be a night to remember. It really will.
Definitely. So, before we start getting into the final bits for the show, one more matchup that's on SummerSlam that everybody's, of course, going to be talking about is going to be Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar for the 3rd time this year, in which, God help me, if they keep the belt on Brock, I'm going to probably end up losing my shit. Not even in the good way. It's going to be one of those things where I will just end up probably starting a deal where I'll be like, you know what? Can we just boycott it? Brock is champ. I'm going to start making this a deal. Somebody give me a sign-up sheet. I want to start a petition. Brock Lesnar loses the belt. Or maybe petition, or even just have Brock Lesnar versus Demon Finn Balor. Give us that.
I'm very not because it's the 3rd time we're getting it, not this is a match that's expected to go on last. Now, Brooklyn is a very, very harsh crowd. I was in attendance. We hijacked Seth first spin, which was a great match, and the fact that Finn finished with a torn labrum and a fucked up shoulder to win, we hijacked it because of how ugly it felt. I'm not proud of that, and I was not a part of that. I was seeing two of my favorites in the ring. Now, the crowd is outspoken against Brock Lesnar as champ and against Roman Reigns being the guy, this being his fear. So, you have the risk of the crowd hijacking it completely. Either way, the crowd's going to be unhappy. You have the wild card of Paul Heyman, and you also have the wild card that nobody's talking about, Money in the Bank. Now, Braun belongs in the title picture. I do not believe he needed this briefcase. I think it would have been better with KO, with Miz, Samoa Joe, or Balor. I don't honestly want to see Braun be the one to cash in the briefcase. Unfortunately, you can't stop his momentum by having him lose it to KO. But I would love to see KO beat Braun and cash it in that night to become Universal Champion. I also would love to see Paul Heyman and insert whoever wins the belt, new alliance. KO and Paul Heyman, a new version of the Dangerous Alliance. You have the possibility of him with Roman Reigns, but I don't really want that. And I'm concerned. I'm very concerned with this match altogether. If I had to choose, it would have to be whoever has Money in the Bank cashes in tonight. Cashes in at SummerSlam. Yes, it would mean we don't have briefcases in play until next June. But I'm very worried about what that crowd's going to do for that match.
Yeah, it's going to be a bit of a nuclear power plant when that matchup comes through because you know the heat is going to be real and you know this heat is going to be very deadly.
Oh, it will. So, I think a way to rectify it would be have AJ versus Samoa Joe go on last. But regardless of the match's placement, the crowd's not going to be happy. So you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. Yeah. And unfortunately, WWE did this to themselves. They had Brock go over at Mania. They had him go over at the Greatest Royal Rumble with that screwy finish that nobody talks about anymore. Roman Reigns technically won that match. His feet touched the ground first. And then we have the people talking about, Brock, I want to see him with the belt and with the UFC belt at the same time. I absolutely don't want to see that. I don't. Because Brock won't be able to fight in UFC until January. I cannot handle another 6+ months of this belt being defended twice. Raw needs a champion. It has talent to be the champion, but they back themselves in because of the way they book these talented superstars.
Yeah, no argument from there. So, we are just about to wrap up the show, but before we do that, it's time for shameless plug time, you guys. So, Mr. Dave, I know that you got a lot of stuff that you got to plug going into the next few days, and also, where can they find you, and how can they interact with you?
Okay, so on Facebook, my name is David Malkiewicz, Malkiewich. On Twitter, KOTR_DustyDave, member of the KOTR_ podcast. On Instagram, you can find me OZTEP08 and Snapchat OZTEP. I'm very excited for this weekend. Summer Rant. Who got next on Saturday? Come chill with us. I'm sober while I'm in the program. I'm doing very well. I'm going into my 8th month of sobriety from controlled substances and alcohol. I feel good. So come interact. I love talking wrestling. Wrestling attire is literally like 75% of my wardrobe now. Then you can on Saturday we have the pre-show for Rant with Ann, hosted by the Kings of the Rings. Patreons, you're more than welcome to come. Then we'll be hitting up the bar, and then we'll be going to Summerslam. Please, I've only been at a few times people have come up to me like after talking like, oh, you're a Dusty Dave. Like, I love to talk to people. Please, like, if you see us or anyone in the group, like, we don't bite. Some of them might bite hard, but no, like, we're all friendly. We love making friends with like-minded people who like wrestling. Like, wrestling has been being a wrestling fan has been a huge outlet for me in getting over my substance abuse. So, like, I care about it. Sometimes I think of it a little too much, but love to talk. If you see me, if you want to interact with me across social media or in person, please do. Me and Nate interact across social media platforms and Patreon and SoCal Val fans. Like, please, it's going to be a great week. The greatest party of the summer, followed by the greatest party of the summer.
Well, there you go, guys. And you also know how to find me on Facebook as well as on Twitter. Be sure to tune in tomorrow, you guys, because it is indeed SummerSlam weekend predictions. It's going to be amazing. So for Mr. Dusty Dave, my favorite member of the Kings of the Ring podcast, oh shit, I shouldn't have said that because now the other two are going to get all jealous now.
Oh, by the way, boys, that means I'm the best.
I still remember that major argument you guys had.
Thank you for having me. This has been a great time. Thank you for working with my schedule with treatment. Let's do it again sometime.
Oh, definitely, dude. I know that I definitely want to have all three of you guys on the show at the same time one of these days. But also I know that I would love to have, each of you individually. I know I still got a bone to pick with Will for some of the things he said about some movies, but that'll be for another time. So for Dusty Dave...
You want to hear something funny about Will? He just downloaded a PS2 emulator. He's just, as of yesterday, playing God of War for the first time.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's saying more than me because I have not gotten a chance to play God of War. But we're not here to talk about video games. We're here to talk about how wrestling is weird. So for Dusty Dave and Nate the Effing Great, thank you for joining us here for the Game Changer. And I will talk to you guys in the next episode tomorrow. It is GC Summer Bash, and it's still going to be going crazy. So see you guys.